Good morning, Arche. It's Friday, I believe, April 17th. We're into week 4 or something like that of this quarantine self-isolating thing. And I think as Pastor Goose and I have been thinking about kind of how to go and move forward from here, we had a couple of ideas and we wanted to share with you, and just wanted to update you a little bit and also provide you with a little bit of a devotional this morning to go ahead and sit through and pray through, and just give you a couple of updates on how we want to go ahead and progress from here. So I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're healthy, and I hope just a Holy Week was really good for you, and that we can continue to move forward in the midst of this pandemic. The sense that Pastor Goose and I are getting is that we're kind of into this place where we're getting used to this normal. We're getting used to being isolated. Not that we like it, but we've kind of settled into a rhythm. We understand how to do our meetings. For those of us who are working, we understand working from home, and we've kind of maybe bought some stuff and gotten some things ready so that we can go ahead and work from home better. We've understood kind of the rhythm of Zoom meetings and all these other things. We've even, here at Arche, we did 102 via Zoom. We did Monday, Thursday through Zoom. We're doing all of our stuff online. We've kind of gotten used to this rhythm, and so the novelty of all of this is worn off. And so we really feel like in this place, that we are being called to a specific kind of posture that I think is going to help us to kind of go through. The question that Pastor Goose and I have been thinking through is what's going to be helpful or most helpful for us to continually not only draw closer to the Lord, but also draw closer to one another, and just have a life that I think is giving and fruitful and life full of life and all these things. And more and more the imagery that has come to my mind is this idea that I got from a friend of mine. You may know the book. I wish I had it here with me. I don't, but it's called The Sacred Year by Mike Yankowski, and I've referred to it a bunch of times before. But in the beginning of the book, he has this idea, and he says basically that if you take a gallon of water and you stretch it out over, theoretically kind of down to like its molecule state, so the thinnest state, you can technically stretch out a gallon of water over 5 square miles of land mass, which is a crazy thing to think. But he says, but in the same way, if you can concentrate that same gallon of water and you poured it down a straw the thickness of like a hair, then you could pour that water down theoretically all the way till it reaches the center of the earth, which is miles and hundreds and thousands of miles into the center of the earth. The idea is pretty simple. With increasing breadth, you always decrease the depth. But with decreasing breadth, you always increase the depth, and vice versa. And what I think we have a tendency to do in life, in just general, is to increase our breadth, to want to do and engage in everything, and then therefore decrease our depth. And I think what we're called to do at all times, but particularly at this time in our lives, in the midst of the pandemic, is to increase the depth. I've talked to Pastor Goose and some of the leaders about how we're in a place where we're not going to be able to see and kind of grow our church in a way where we can get more people and things of that nature. But who we have and who we're with, there's, I think, an immense opportunity for us to draw deeper with one another and really get to know each other better and draw deeper into our lives. And I think that's what we're hoping to do. And so Pastor Goose and I have, I think, come up with some ideas to help this, to help all the folks at Arche. And so I wanted to kind of go over that with you and then share a quick little word that's related to this idea, kind of as your morning devotional. So let me share with you really quickly. We've decided that once a week on Monday mornings, I know this is Friday morning, so today will be the only one this way, but starting this coming Monday, the calendar is behind me, the 20th, I believe. Starting on the 20th, every Monday morning, you'll get a devotional like we did during Holy Week. The reason why we're doing this is because I think people really used it. I think it was beneficial and helpful. We've gotten a lot of good feedback off of it, and we wanted to get your kind of week started. I know technically Sunday is the start of the week, but a lot of us see it as a Monday. We wanted for you to have the opportunity to start the week with a devotional, a word, and just a time for us to pray. We've heard that it's really helped people to pray in this kind of fashion. We would highly encourage, you don't have to, we would highly encourage, maybe you do what we did during Holy Week, which is to fast a meal that you're using this Monday devotional to pray through. Just an idea, don't have to, voluntary, but an idea nonetheless. But we would encourage you to kind of walk through in this manner to do this and to have this devotion and to pray. And everyone a part of Arche can really pray this way. Then on Wednesday night, we're going to have our midweek prayer where we gather together to pray as a community over Zoom and to really have an opportunity for us to gather and to really cry out to the Lord together as one, because what better for the church to do than to pray in times like this. Then on Friday, most of our YAGS will be meeting on Friday night via Zoom, and all the YAGS leaders are going to be preparing more and more to better do this and to better facilitate community for all of y'all. And then there's going to be a couple of things going on Saturday. I believe Pastor Goose is preparing for a Saturday night YAG for all junior high school students. And then on throughout the week, the high schools, I think high school and junior high students will also have meetings within their DGs with some teaching from Pastor Goose and all this kind of sort of thing. And then, of course, we have our Sunday gathering together, obviously via live stream on YouTube. We were hoping that we can provide for everyone opportunities for us to engage and to dig deep. We don't want there to be so much stuff, but we want there to be timely and focused stuff that we can really use and utilize well. And so that's kind of the idea. And so those are some of the updates. Again, Monday morning devotional, you can check back. It'll premiere Monday morning at 7 on our YouTube channel. Wednesday night, midweek prayer, and a lot of the information will be at the bottom of the video in the description box. Fridays will be YAGS. If you're still interested in joining a YAG, if you're watching this, then let us know. Leave us a comment or email us at rkkcpch@gmail.com. Again, that information will be in the description as well. And then Saturday nights for high school, junior high students, for youth students, and then some other things for youth students. And then, of course, our Sunday gathering where we come together and worship via our YouTube channel and live stream. So those are some of the things that are going on. And we hope that you're able to join us in this time as we draw and seek to draw deeper with one another. Now, off of that, I wanted to quickly share this word with you. It'll be very quick. From Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. It's one that you're very familiar with. It's a story of Mary and Martha in their home when Jesus comes to visit and what they do, and I just wanted to share that with you. But let's first read the text together and then kind of jump into the text. Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. Now, as they were traveling along, he entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him, Jesus, into her home. She had a sister called Mary, who was seated at the Lord's feet, listening to his word. But Martha was distracted with all of her preparation, and she came up to him, Jesus, and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the serving alone? Then tell her to help me." But the Lord answered and said to her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and bothered about so many things, but only one thing is necessary. For Mary has chosen the good part, which shall not be taken away from her." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. What I wanted to share with you, kind of in light of all of this, is this. Right now, because we're at home, we have a lot of time, for most of us anyway. Our first line responders, and particularly the hospital workers and people along those lines, maybe a little less, and we're praying for you always. But for the vast majority of us, we have a lot of time on our hands. School is not what it used to be. Work is definitely not what it used to be as we work from home and all these other things. And in that time, I think there's this tendency for us to kind of just dabble at a whole bunch of different things. Maybe watch a whole lot of stuff on YouTube or TikTok or whatever it is that you're consuming. Spend a lot of time on social media, or just kind of, Netflix binging all day, or, whatever the case might be, just kind of lounging around. And in that kind of space, what I've found is there can be even kind of this mirage, kind of just this mix of just kind of restlessness in many ways. And we wanted to kind of go back to this text and remind ourselves that really what we want is to be sitting at Jesus' feet. The context of this is that Jesus and his disciples have come, and there's a bunch of people, and Mary is preparing a meal for maybe even 70-ish people. And if you know anything about that, Martha is preparing, I should say. And if you know anything about that context, you realize that it's like kind of being Korean. If we're Korean, when a guest comes, you kind of go to the nines and you prepare. If senior pastor were to come over to one of our house, as you know, many of our parents and our families, we would go and prepare a lavish meal and all that kind of stuff. That's the idea. Martha wants to do well for Jesus and prepare a meal for him. She loves him. She's devoted to him, and she wants to thank him and all these things. But in the midst of it, I think she gets caught up in doing a lot, preparing maybe more than she needs to. And in doing so, she gets flustered. And then to add on top of that, Mary, her younger sister, whose duty would be to be helping her in the kitchen prepare this and kind of facilitate the gathering of the men. I know it's sexist, but that's kind of what it was. To facilitate that gathering, and yet she's there sitting at Jesus' feet listening. And you have to understand, doing that, sitting at the feet of the rabbi to listen, was not something that women did, but yet here was Mary, and more importantly, Jesus wasn't doing anything about it. And so Martha, not only is she flustered, she's trying to prepare all these things, and she feels like she's overwhelmed, and she wants Mary's help, but Mary's not doing anything. So then she goes to Jesus and is like, Jesus, don't you see what's going on? Will you tell Mary to come help me? Because this is not a good look, and we need to prepare, and she's not helping me, and she's just sitting there. And then Jesus answers this, and he says, Martha, you are worried and bothered about so many things, but one thing is necessary. He draws his comparison between many and then the one. Breadth versus maybe depth, right? Only one thing is necessary, for Mary has chosen the good part, which shall not be taken away from her. There's a lot of things that you can say about this passage. Maybe Jesus isn't in your home all the time and this is an opportunity unlike any other, all those things. But I think in particular the contrast is that Martha, could have potentially prepared a simple meal and be done with it. But I think she wanted, out of her heart and out of love, to prepare a lavish meal. And then I think she got caught up in doing a lot, and maybe too much. But Mary understood that Jesus was the show. He is the center. He is the focus. And she wanted to soak him in as much as possible. And the thing that Jesus does isn't to tell Martha that she's wrong for preparing. He doesn't obviously tell Mary that she's wrong for not preparing. What he's trying to focus on is this idea that oftentimes what we need in life is to focus on the most important thing and to try to take that in as much as possible. Take care of what you need to take care of, but really spend the time doing the things that are most important. And when Jesus is in your home, the most important thing is to listen to what he has to say, to soak in everything that he has to say. It's like if you go to a concert, if you go to a thing and there's a main attraction, you're right, the thing that you need to do is to focus in on that person and gather in and enjoy everything that person is doing. And that's what we should do with Jesus. And yet here is Martha kind of distracted with the many other things rather than focusing on the one thing, which is Jesus himself. And for us, I think in this time, I think there's something to be said about us taking focused bits of time. Again, it's not doing a whole lot. It's not us providing something every single day and having a meeting every single day and all these kind of things. I think that would be just kind of doing too much. But really taking the time to have very focused, purposeful times where we can really draw in with God. We thought about maybe doing a devotion every day, and we thought maybe that was a little too much, because I think then it would just be like you're just reacting to these things. But what if we could really have some focused, purposeful times where we can really gather and seek and draw closer to the Lord? Hence the Monday morning devotional, where you can really, hopefully in the morning before you start work or whatever it is that you do, you would take some time and pray. Again, maybe even fast, to really pray for the world, to pray for our hearts, to pray for this pandemic, to pray that we can get back to doing life, but most important, that we can see each other, build community, love people, and that, of course, less people would be dying day by day. And then Wednesday, as we gather together as a community to pray, a larger community to pray together and lift up our prayers to God. Another time, an hour or so, hopefully no longer than an hour, where we can gather together to really pray together and cry out. Then within your YAGS, to gather together as community within smaller groups, to share, be vulnerable, to draw depth. I've challenged all of the leaders to really try to draw deeper with everybody, to dig into people's lives and to really share, because we really need to. And then, of course, then our Sunday gatherings and some of the other youth, we have our youth gatherings, large and small. And then, of course, we have our Sunday worship congregation, where we gather together as a big body and we worship together and we sing and we listen and we pray and do all those things. We hope that this is a good rhythm for us going forward. We hope that in many ways, this is those times saying a couple times a week in particular, we're going to really dedicate and say we're going to sit at Jesus' feet, listen, we're going to pray, we're going to grow, we're going to be fed, and then we would indeed give him all the glory in return. So I'm super thankful for you, Arche Fam, and really privileged to be your family, to be your pastor, that you would call me as such. And we pray that as we do this, that we would grow in intimacy with God and also with one another. So I hope you had a really good week. I hope the truth of the resurrection is still alive in your heart and really boistering you. And I pray that you would indeed grow with Christ, and then we would grow together. So again, thank you. I love you. We love you. We just so excited to journey together. And then, of course, just really anticipating the day where we'll be able to gather more closely and then do that which God has called us to do together. So I hope you have a great weekend, and hope to see you on Sunday in the live stream, and bless you. And we pray and just continually praying over you that you would be blessed and that you would bless the world in the many ways that God has given you an opportunity to do so. Thanks, and see you later.